online to hear us.
Live streamed.
Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Springer.
Oh, thank you. Oh, man.
Crowd goes wild. Gene and Jerry making like a soundtrack. Hey, by the way, Megan Hills, our other host, our third host, God bless her. Hope she's listening, but she feels like junk because she had some dental work done and thought she could do this, but she is too uncomfortable. And so she's going to take some time off. So that's why Megan is not here. And hey, our musical guest, been chatting with her, is Tiffany Williams, this wonderful singer, songwriter, born and raised down in southeastern Kentucky, down in coal country. And Tiffany's father was a coal miner.
Yeah, she's the original coal miner's daughter.
Well,
How many times have you heard
original.
that? And how many times have you been asked to sing that song?
Well, how many times have I also said it too in my bio and when I'm introducing myself?
sure.
Yeah. I actually
Yeah.
have a song on my next record that was almost titled that. It's about being a coal miner's daughter.
Very
Oh,
cool.
man.
Well, we're going to swing back to Tiffany
Yeah,
here in a few
can't wait
minutes.
to hear it.
And she's fantastic. So we're looking forward. Stick around for that for sure. Hey, Jerry, last couple episodes, and I think we're going to, this situation is continuing to play out in Ukraine. And I've got some other things we're going to chat about in a minute, but we need to talk more about Ukraine. And I always say the heart of the Jerry Springer podcasts are the Jerry Springer commentaries. And I always load compliments on you. They're heartfelt. You're my best and oldest friend in our adult lives. And I'm always impressed to see the angles you take on stuff. So I'm going to take you back to Ukraine. And I'm going to ask you something. Didn't Russia at one point in the past, under Putin, I think it was under Putin, you tell me, guarantee the security of Ukraine? If so, this is ironic as hell.
Actually, initially it was Boris Yeltsin was
Okay.
in, but though it's obviously easy to see who's the villain here in Russia's horrific assault on Ukraine, it needs to be pointed out that Putin received a lot of assistance along the way. And it's not just a matter of piling on an already disgraced former president, but it has profound effects on our future regardless of how the Ukraine situation turns out. This is best explained by looking at recent history. After the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union dissolved in the early 90s, the world breathed a sigh of relief. The Cold War was over, communism was revealed as the failed ideology it was, and George H.W. Bush very wisely told everyone around him that this was no time for a victory lap, but rather a time to mend fences, to work with the Russian Federation's first president, Boris Yeltsin, in trying to help Russia, as well as the newly independent republics now free of Soviet domination, to help them all ease over to some form of democracy. One of the lingering issues, however, was that Ukraine, no longer part of the Soviet Union, had some 1,800 nuclear missiles left within its borders. And that fact, perhaps understandably, worried the Russians. They wanted their missiles back, and Ukraine, equally understandably, wanted to hold on to them for what they perceived was their own security. Meanwhile, we, the United States, now clearly the world's unchallenged superpower, wanted fewer countries to be having nuclear weapons and didn't want any new dispute or uncontrollable conflict to arise in Europe. President Clinton, following the tone established by his predecessor, offered to mediate the issue if the parties were open to that. And as it turned out, they were. And what became of that was the Bucharest Memorandum of 1964, in which the United States, Great Britain, and Russia would offer security assistance to Ukraine if Ukraine would give up its nuclear weapons, all 1,800 of them, stripped of their nuclear warheads, the missiles to be transferred back to Russia. The United States, UK, and Russia would cover the cost of this, guarantee the sovereignty of Ukraine, and provide security assurances if it were attacked. This was clearly seen as a positive step in bringing some stability to the region. But unfortunately, the piece of paper upon which the document was signed was effectively shredded when Russia attacked Ukraine in 2014. Clearly, Ukraine was double-crossed, giving up its obviously best weapon to defend itself on the promise of having Russia, to whom it surrendered its missiles, respect the sovereignty and borders of Ukraine and to, quote, refrain from the threat or use of force against it. That's the quote from the actual agreement. This, of course, is an outrage we can all condemn. But in terms of what's to become of having any hope of world stability, our hands aren't that clean either. The alternative of war in settling disputes is, of course, diplomacy. And the art of diplomacy took a hit when Trump, upon taking office, immediately sought to tear up the nuclear arms deal with Iran. He also withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty with Russia. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, all while blasting NATO and the UN in the process, making our word meaningless on the world stage. The damage caused by this geopolitical recklessness extends beyond just Trump's years in office. Even if Biden can, as he's desperately trying, to restore our place in the world community, what must be clear to all nations is that not even guarantees offered by the United States have any permanence, their validity always hanging at the mercy of whoever happens to be president at the time. What happens if one day we get another Trump type in the White House? Watching the cavalier way superpowers treat their promises, their supposed guarantees, why would any country again, after seeing the lights of Putin or even Trump, why would or should any country out of their own self-interest give up their pursuit of nuclear weapons or anything they would need if attacked? Do we not think North Korea or Iran are taking notice? Do Japan and South Korea and who knows who else now have reason in their own minds to start revving up their armaments, adding nukes to their arsenal? Where does all this end if treaties and negotiated agreements have no more worth than the paper they're written on? Let this be a lesson the next time our domestic politics start pushing for us to back out of our international agreements. Because what Putin is now showing the world is that when these documents are shredded, it's not just the treaty that goes up in smoke. So can a significant part of the human race.
Excellent, Jerry.
Oh,
Great
thanks.
job
Thanks.
connecting the dots between what Donald Trump did just recently and what Putin did to Ukraine. That's, like you say, and that's, I'm not a trained attorney, you are, but the clean hands theory is a good one,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know, I mean,
Yeah,
we don't
it's-
have clean hands. So, by the way, do you think that if that hadn't happened, if Ukraine had those nuclear weapons, and none of this would be happening?
Oh, there's no question.
No
No
question.
one is going to attack a country, virtually no one. In fact, I don't think anyone ever has attacked a country with nuclear weapons.
Right.
You just,
Right.
it's just crazy. I mean,
I'm-
why haven't, why Russia and China haven't gone to an all-out war? They've had disputes, but an all-out war against each other over the years is because they both had nuclear weapons.
The
And
deterrence of nuclear weapons, yeah.
yeah, so no, you wouldn't, if they had all their weapons, I don't think there's any way. I mean, Russia militarily, now they're killing tons of civilians by sending some missiles, but their military has become a joke.
It has become a joke.
I mean,
geez. And at
God
the time
bless
of
the
this
women and
recording-
children and civilians that are still, alive in Ukraine and staying. They're literally beating the Russian army.
It's
Who would have
amazing.
thought?
It's amazing.
It's
So this is
amazing.
the 22nd of March at the time that we're recording this. And I saw a news report today. This is remarkable. They were at a train station. I think this was MSNBC, might have been CNN, where people are now, women, and I guess with their children. Yeah, there were children with them, are going back to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
They're in, they're refugees in Poland, and they're going back. And they're going back partially because they're that pissed off, and partially because this is not the overrun that Putin claimed it was going to be. I mean, there is stiff resistance, and some say 10 Russian generals have been killed, thousands of Russians killed, soldiers killed or wounded. I don't know. This is just a crazy situation. And we continue to watch it and appreciate your thoughts on it. I want to take us to one other place, and we're going to be bringing Tiffany Williams, a wonderful singer-songwriter, on here in a second. But I wanted to show you something and show this to tell our listeners about this. About a month ago, Jerry, you did a commentary that was what we call here at the JerrySpringer podcast, a good one. It was like amazing. And they're all really good, but this one was like, what? It was a WTF, and it was you saying, without any knowledge by Megan and me, that you were going to donate to Liz Cheney. And Liz Cheney, the daughter of the vice president under George W. Bush, somebody that we had a lot of negative feelings about politically over the years, right?
Yep.
And Liz Cheney was a champion conservative, and I never felt politically very good about her, but she's emerged as kind of a hero in politics because, and your commentary talked about all this. You said, this woman is amazing, what she is doing. And in this Wyoming, so she's a congresswoman, the only one they have, low population state in Wyoming, and she's in a fight for her life, for her political life. She's being challenged in the primary by somebody that Donald Trump is pushing. And this all has to do with what she did and said about Donald Trump and the second impeachment vote. So you said in a commentary, you were going to send her a donation, and you did. And it was, well, I'm not going to say how much, you can say if you want, but it was a nice chunk of money. When you make a donation politically, it's a good chunk of money.
And now I think the same thing's happening with you.
It sure as hell is. Look at this, Jerry. I'm going to hold them up.
Right. I
Tell
knew
everybody what's happening now.
We
Tell them
don't
what
get
you
it.
did.
I gave a contribution to Liz Cheney because of her integrity, and I think that's regardless of political party, that's a wonderful characteristic.
Now wait, now let me slide in one fact. After you did that, this has been what you and I have done all our lives since you got rich.
Yeah.
Hey, we should tell people, when you and I started hanging out together along with our spouses, like 1970, 69, 70, 71, you and I were a couple of just working stiffs, man. You were running for, you were a political activist. You were a city council member, newly elected.
My salary when we started was $8,000 a year.
And mine was
that's what city council got.
And mine was 5,200.
Well, that's why you hung around with me, because I was making so much
You're
more
making
than
more
you.
money.
Yeah.
So you and I were low-paid schleps, and for a while we stayed there. We bought homes with our wives, and our houses were similar levels. You saw my house, we saw your house. They were pretty different parts of town similar. And then you got wealthy. God bless you. You deserve every penny you've earned, and through the news and then through your TV shows. And your donations are this level. For listeners, I'm holding my hand up high, and mine are down here at the normal human being level. So I donated some money to her too. Like that night, Jerry, I got on my phone and I said, Jerry Springer is dead right. I had never thought of it. I'm all in. So I sent in like $100 to Liz Cheney. And now tell the people what's happening to both of us because of that.
Every day, our mailbox is packed with requests for contributions from every Republican who was ever born.
It's
Unbelievable. Well, yesterday was the highlight because I got one from Pence.
I got one from Pence too.
And what is it? It's 12 pages.
I know.
12 pages.
Get this one. Here's one for our Facebook Live viewers.
You got one from Jordan. Well, yeah. Oh,
I got one from Jim Jordan. He's a freaking nutcase. He's a crazy man. He's a congressman from Ohio, and he's like a total goofball. And I got one from him. What I'm trying to figure out, and you've been in politics forever. And by the way, I had never given money ever to a Republican in my life. So this is my first time, and now I'm on everybody's list. But it's insane. It's insane. So how do we stop this? I don't know. But I tell you
Mickey
what,
Mickey always wanted to write a note on it. You know, she gets so angry. And then I say, no, first of all, it's a computer.
That's right.
There's no one's reading it. They just see if there's a check in the envelope. If not, boom. It's all done computer. So you're not you're not expressing your anger to anyone to whom it makes a difference.
Do you think that the
plus the Republicans have drones?
Right.
I don't want to make any of them mad because they know where I live.
Do you think that the list we're on, like when I got one from Jim Jordan, I really got scared because he's like crazy right-wing person. And I thought, I wonder if the people who are getting the campaigns who are getting her campaign lists, once it's published public record, then all the Republicans they don't need her cooperation at all. But I wonder, some of these came so fast, if she is teaming up with people who are going to support her in her primary fight.
I don't, she may, but I don't think that has anything to do with the letters you get. Everyone is working off the same computer list. Everyone has the voting records of everyone who voted, of everyone who's registered in every state. Because it's all federal filings. If you're running for Congress or the Senate, and in the state, there are state filings, it's all record of who gave how much money. That's the law. So you can find out. And as soon as they see somebody is a registered voter and gave money to a Republican candidate, boom, you're on the list. So it's not that anyone sits around and thinks about it. It's done automatically, just like you get things on your iPhone. All of a sudden advertisements in a certain area. Why? They figured out if you want to buy this or you listen to this music, you're the kind of person that would listen to this music. So therefore you get something about that. It's all done computer wise. And so no one really, that's how it happens. And that's how they raise money. And they don't even need, now anything that happens is a cause. And the Democrats do it too. This is not picking on the Republicans. My gosh.
True.
I mean, we get tons of requests. Anyone running for, local township office is sending me a request or something. So it's it's endless.
Well, it's interesting. Hey, one other thing. I wanted to compliment you and express something we're excited about. Recently, a commentary that Jerry did on the Ukraine situation a few weeks back got sent over to the Cincinnati Enquirer, big daily paper in Cincinnati, a Gannett paper, and they published it on their editorial page. It was great, and published it in its entirety, and it's written for a podcast, not for a news hole, as they say in the newspaper business. And we made contact with them and said, hey, and I guess we should give people this quick piece of history. Back after you left politics, in what year, Jerry? In the 80s, early 80s?
Yeah, 82. Yeah, 82. I started at Channel 5.
All right. And at Channel 5, one of the duties you had was to do nightly broadcast on camera commentaries. And they became, and I can tell people this because I'm kind of the witness, I was a Cincinnati news consumer, and they became extremely popular. And then Jerry became a news anchor and took this Channel 5, the NBC affiliate, as I recall, to first place in the news business in Cincinnati, and kept it there until he left. And so there is a memory in Cincinnati of the Jerry Springer commentary. So the Enquirer said, yeah, we'd like these. We'd like them on a regular basis, which means weekly. So those of you listening in Cincinnati, we're excited to say, if you want to read them in the paper, or if you see them in the paper and wonder, what's going on, that's what's going on. They are going to repeat these, and we are working out the logistics on how to do that on a regular basis. So congratulations, Jerry. It's another way for your ideas
Thank you.
to get out. Hey, let's talk to Tiffany Williams.
Yes.
First of all, hello, Tiffany.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tiffany.
Absolutely. Let me say a couple things about you, but get you to say a lot more, because I'm still new to your music, but you were, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, born and raised in southeastern Kentucky, daughter of a coal miner. Tell us a little bit about yourself back in your formative years, like school, etc. Yeah, tell us about you.
I was just a chubby nerd. I mean, I didn't do that's and a country kid, I don't. It's funny because all the music stuff that I'm into now, I never would have dreamed that I would be writing songs, singing. I was really shy, so I didn't ever imagine myself on stage. I didn't learn to play the guitar till I was 26. That's when I started teaching myself. Yeah.
No kidding.
And I really didn't sing until when I played in the band always. And so when I was going to college, they said, "Hey, we need people to be in the choir. So would you also like a choir scholarship?" And I said, "Sure."
Man.
And so that's really the first time that I used my voice consistently enough to realize, like, oh, maybe I could do this, and people don't seem to hate it, so yeah, I mean, I really came kind of late to it. When I learned to play guitar, I was already a high school English teacher, and then I left that job to study linguistics. I was going to be a sociolinguist specializing in Appalachian dialect. And then
How cool.
I finally I'm a word nerd, and that kind of comes through in the music too. I think I'm a fiction writer as well. And I wrote fiction before I wrote songs. So I think that all of that kind of informs what I do. I'm very lyric focused, and there's a lot of stories in my songs, and there's a lot of regional stuff in my songs. So
well, now wait, back up a second. So what are you doing right now? You say you studied, you were an English teacher. I was that too. I developed and ran schools, but my first year was an English teacher. So I, fist bump you here. Hey, so
Miserate.
So where did you go to the local public school? In what town, by the way, in Kentucky?
Well, so I'm from Letcher County. And that's where my dad's family's from. My mother's family's from Pike County, Kentucky.
Yep.
Pike. And still coal country very much. And I went to college there, and then there was a job.
What college?
Oh, sorry, in Pikeville. It's the University of Pikeville now. It was Pikeville College when I was there, and that's actually where my parents met. My dad was in a mining tech program, so he was a coal miner, but he got his associate's degree in mining tech. Yep. So yeah, I went to college there, and then I went to ETSU in Johnson City, Tennessee, to get my Master's of Arts in Teaching, and then I came back to Pikeville to teach high school for 5 years. I did.
And are you still teaching now?
No, I just have a run-of-the-mill day job now. I'm out of education. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But God bless teachers, because my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough job, and if you've done it,
Yeah, it is. It's it's self-serving comment, but it's important work. And
no, it's it's one of the most important. Like, I was very much fulfilled, and I loved my kids, and I think if you want to make an impact, that's one of the best places you can be, but it is very tough.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife has started teaching when she was oh, I don't know, 15. She's a dance teacher and still is in her, early 70s, and had her own dance studio and did that for many years, and now still does some teaching in her niche area, which is ballet and also tap dancing. She's an instinctive, incredible teacher. I know it because I've seen her whole life. And we were talking at breakfast this morning, Tiffany, about how when I have been asked in my life, and now I'm retired, so occasionally someone will say, "All right, so what'd you learn? What's the key?" And I say there is a key, and the key is a lot of stuff has to also happen, but the key is you got to care about the kids you're working with, because you cannot bullshit that. You cannot.
No, I know. That's what I was thinking. You
Right?
cannot fake it because they know.
They
They know
spot
if you care
instantly.
about them, and they know if you care about your material.
That's it. And I work with Native American kids, Appalachian kids, and urban African American kids. And I chose always to work with the kids who are less advantaged economically, because you and we all can go teach in some private school if we're any good. I said, no, I want, I did it for a lot of reasons. I'm not trying to play hero role, but and some of it's spiritual. Whatever you do for the least of my brothers, that you do unto me. I mean, some of it's simple as that. And those kids, when you cross a cultural chasm, you enter their world. Like, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you coming in here? And they know if you will die for them, metaphorically, then they're all in with you. Then they got your back. And all the classroom management problems stop, and you can really get down to some great work. But the key is you got to care about those kids. And like you say, Tiffany, you got to care about your subject matter. No fakers make it.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful job to be in, where that's the law of the trail. Hey, what inspired your music, Tiffany? Tell us a little bit about your music.
Well, it's a friend and I were talking the other day about, because you think about this stuff sometimes, even if you don't want to, but we landed on pretty and sad. Well, that's what I do. It's pretty and sad.
Nice.
But it's folk music, and maybe Americana, singer-songwriters. Sometimes it veers into country. So yeah, that's kind of where it lives. But
did your family influence you at all? Were your mom and dad musical or not?
no, not really. They loved music, but and it was always on. But no, my mama would sing some, but she used to watch Jerry, and she would call him JerrySpringer.
That's great.
But she also called Skittles Skididdles, and the laxative Dulcolax was Ducalax. So
That's
Oh,
good.
yeah. Hey, look, as long as it works.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to hear a song by Tiffany called If It Wasn't by Tiffany Williams. All right, that was great, Tiffany. And you're right. It's a blend. And you should know this. Springer and I, we were raised on folk music, but it was back in the 60s, late 50s, 60s, early 70s. And there was an explosion. Maybe you've heard about it. There was an explosion of popularity of folk music, and your sound and the sounds of a lot of people, right, Jerry, that we've had on our show, young people like you, Tiffany, harken back to that. We love it, right, Jerry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We love that.
It's
So,
yeah.
Hey, Tiffany, where else can people hear your music?
Well, my website is Tiffany M as in Mouse Williams, and then it's on all the streaming platforms. And you can hear the song that you just played. It's my friend Jonathan Dean and I did it together, and I just wanted to give him a shout out on there. We co-wrote it together, and we sang it together, and we recorded it here in Nashville during the pandemic. So
Excellent. And do you have any albums out that people should know about?
Yeah, I've got 2 EPs out, and they're available on all the streaming services. And then I have my first full-length album coming out in August of this year, so I'm really excited about that.
That's fantastic.
Wonderful. We will definitely
please,
look for
folks.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody check out Tiffany Williams. You're in Nashville as we speak, right? That's where you are rooted now. I know we talked about Southeastern Kentucky, but Tiffany really is in Nashville. What a great place that is to be. And so we're going to ask her to come back. We're going to have Tiffany back for another episode. So we'll all look forward to that.
Is your middle name Mouse?
No. Is that the one that they use for M? You know, C is it?
Yeah, you're right.
Michelle.
Right. Yeah, I just yeah.
I guess I could have said Michelle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, taking us out. Singing Down by the Riverside, we have our music coordinator, Casey Campbell, singer-songwriter in his own right, and an unbelievable singer. I don't know that he's written any songs, JerrySpringer. See you guys next week.
Excellent. Here we go. Number 2.
Here we go.
Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. One and only Jerry Springer.
That just gets me in a good mood right away. You know?
Yep.
Could we
Megan Hills.
Oh yeah, Megan's not here.
Megan Hills is not with us tonight. She had some dental work done, still's not feeling well, and so we wish Megan will get better.
Yes.
I know she will. She'll be back with us in the next episode. We have Tiffany Williams. She was on our show last week. She is, well, first of all, a very cool young lady.
Yeah,
and
really is.
Lives in Nashville, Tennessee, born and raised in southeastern Kentucky. That truly daughter of a coal miner. And we're going to hear a song from Tiffany and chat with her and talk a little bit more about her music. So let me say hello, Tiffany. How you doing?
Hello. I'm so glad to be here again. Thank you.
You're
Sure.
welcome. By the way, we should mention this to Tiffany. Our opening song, which we only play just a little bite of it at the beginning because it has a great instrumental. And then Patrick Who, H-U, Patrick, that's his stage name, Patrick Who, wrote this song about coal mining. And Tiffany, you and I should stay in touch long enough for me to send you a link to this song.
Yeah.
It is outstanding. In fact, it is, and I'm not this is not my wheelhouse. I wonder, how can we get this song out there and known? It's like good like that. It's got a great sound and it's a great way of talking about, because Tiffany, you know about some of the old coal mining songs. Dark as a Dungeon is a classic one. Tennessee Ernie Ford, we're talking back in the
16
1950s,
tons,
right,
yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah, back in the 50s.
That one's
Cold-
titled
Welch.
Billy
Welch
Ed.
has Down in a Hole.
Yeah, there you go. And one by Billy Ed Wheeler called Coal Tattoo. And your father, a coal miner, not that I'm one, I'm not, but when you're in a collapse of a coal mine, you get hit with a coal, you get a bruise on your head that never goes away because it's coal, it's a bruise.
Yeah.
And that's called a coal tattoo.
Yeah.
So Billy
there's a
Ed
book
Wheeler
actually. There's a book called Coal Tattoo by Silas House. He's a Kentuckian.
There you go.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Tattoo's song is titled Mountain That Eats Men.
What's it called? Mountain That Eats Men. And by the way, for our listeners, everybody should check that out. Mountain That Eats Men by Patrick Who. And he wrote it. He told me he saw a PBS show about a disaster in Bolivia. So it's not like southeastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he wrote this song watching this show about the tragedy of mining, the dangers of mining. And what he did is he brought it all home to Kentucky. He's a Kentuckian, like as I am. And Jerry's wife, Tiffany, was born and raised in Falmouth, Kentucky. So we all have some Kentucky roots here. And Patrick Who wrote this song, and it's all in kind of an Appalachian dialect sound, and it's unbelievable. So anyway, we're going to swing back here in a minute and talk more to Tiffany Williams. So please stick around for that.
I don't know how to get it into the conversation, but I'm just dying to say, isn't he on first?
Oh, God.
Who's on first?
Anywho,
I just couldn't figure. That's for those who don't know, it's an all-time classic comedy skit by Abbott and Costello. Who's on first? Because the guy's name was Who.
like in
What's on second?
1743 or something.
Yeah. But anyway.
Hey, Jerry, we have had some podcasts recently that have been appropriately, we make no apology for this, Ukraine centered, because we call our podcast Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, which means we goof around a little bit, but man, looming over is the darkness of the war in Ukraine. And Jerry's commentaries are, the most important part of each of these podcasts. So I wanted to sadly take you back to Ukraine and Russia and ask you a question. Do you think that the Russian people, they seem to be already starting to do this, revolt against Vladimir Putin? And if so, what the hell's taking so long?
Well, here's what I know, or at least I think I know. When the war in Ukraine finally ends, Putin will be removed from office if he hasn't already been. Removed either dead or alive. Dead because he will have been executed by his own military, or in the alternative, alive, but thrown out by the Russian people themselves. The only thing we don't know yet is how many Ukrainians will have been killed, maimed, or chased out of their country in the meantime. In light of all the pain the Russian people themselves are starting to and will continue to suffer as a result of the sanctions strangling their economy, not to mention the thousands of their soldiers being killed, it is inevitable that the Russian population will eventually turn on him. So a fair question to ask is what you just asked, considering the catastrophic and painful consequences of Putin's war, a war the Russian people never asked for, a war reducing this once proud nation into a rogue, failed state, all while bringing our planet to the edge of nuclear confrontation. A fair question to be asking is, what is taking the Russian people so long to rise up against him? The quick answer, of course, is, well, Russia's a police state, and protesting against Putin could, and often does, get you killed or at least imprisoned. But there's another more fundamental reason why there isn't yet a revolution, an overthrow of this tyrant, why the people haven't yet turned on him. And that is Putin's doing what all dictators do. He's censoring all news other than what his state-owned media puts out. Simply said, most Russians don't yet know what the rest of the world does, that Putin's invasion of Ukraine, for no other reason than his demented dream to be a czar of a reconstructed Russian empire, apparently forgetting that the revolution ended the reign and life of Russia's last czar, the Russian people, for the most part, don't yet know that his war of choice, his unprovoked military assault, is already responsible for the deaths of thousands of civilians, the displacement of millions, and stands out as the singular reason for the imposition of the crippling sanctions and the resulting cratering economy of Russia. They haven't been exposed to the news. They haven't seen the pictures. They haven't witnessed the war crimes. Independent media, traditional and social, have been totally shut down. In fact, Putin's blocking out of all news is so extreme, he's made it a crime punishable by up to 15 years in prison for any journalist or person who simply refers to what he's doing as a war. It must be called merely a military exercise. Call it a war, and you're hauled off to jail. It is this censorship which accounts for the so far tepid response of the Russian people to what Putin's doing. They're simply being kept in the dark. To us Americans, it seems outrageous that a citizenry would stand for this. It couldn't happen here, we say. Or could it? Just last week, the Republican legislature in Florida passed a bill prohibiting schools as well as workplace training programs from discussing racism, white supremacy, or privilege. Instructors, by law, aren't allowed to say anything liable to make one feel badly because people of his or her own race in the past have treated people of another race prejudicially because of their race. Being aware of injustice might want to make people do something to correct it. Good Lord, we can't have people doing that. This, by the way, is the same legislature that outlaws the use of the term gay in our lower school grades, as if that's something to be ashamed of. I wonder whether there's any difference between, on the one hand, Putin outlawing the inconvenience of the term war, despite its obvious truth, and on the other hand, politicians here in America outlawing the inconvenience of the term racism or white supremacy, despite its obvious truth. Putin censors the truth so people won't rise up against him. Here at home, state governments censor the truth because they don't want the younger generation to be educated on institutional racism for fear that they might rise up against and do something about it. I know the comparison with Putin is uncomfortable. After all, no one here is firing missiles and dropping bombs or committing what is classified as crimes against humanity. Yet by our attempted censorship, we are covering up an immorality as well, one that has stained our country since its birth. And we don't get to whitewash what we've done, and in some quarters what we're still doing, just because the slice of humanity being affected is Black or gay.
Wow, that's provocative. I like that.
We're going to get calls. We're going to get calls.
Get calls.
Why do I? It's not necessary. I don't need to do that.
No, you qualify it nicely there toward the end of saying, hey, they may, you're not saying they are moral equivalents, but there are some uncomfortable parallels. And by the way, and we talked about this on a previous podcast, you and Megan and I, about how does anyone, including the young people in the free world, get accurate information to Russians, including to the young people of Russia, when Putin is blocking all of these channels? Well, first of all, the easiest thing to do is to say nothing can be on television or any kind of or newsprint, et cetera, within Russia that tells the truth. Now, did you notice that just outright courageous producer in Russian television that held a sign up behind an anchor? And you've worked in the news business on television. You can picture this. You know what a producer is. They're standing off camera often.
Yeah.
If they walked up behind you and held up a sign, a handmade sign that says this war, whatever it said, but it was basically this war is wrong.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
And she knew she was going to be going off to jail.
And they took her away for days.
Yeah.
Interrogated her, left her in a cold cell. Now the word is she may be going back again. Then she got out. Then I saw an interview on one of the cable channels where a very seasoned woman who struck me as kind of like a public broadcasting type journalist that, comparable to what we would have here. And she was on, I believe it was MSNBC, saying the truth about this war. And the interviewer on MSNBC said, how dare you do this? I mean, we're so glad you're doing it.
Sure.
Here you are on Skype or Zoom, something, which can be monitored, right, in Russia.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And she said, I can't not do it. I'm like you, a journalist. she said to the interviewer. And you think, man, there are a few. And now here's one last thing. One of the things that's happening in the US, and it's frankly kind of brilliant, is there are people who are spending their day here texting to Russian phones,
Yeah.
sending texts
Yeah.
with a paragraph saying what's really happening. That is really, that's on the download,
Yeah.
man.
The
That's
message,
really distracting.
yeah, you're right. The message is starting to trickle in. And one, because particularly the younger generation, they have so many technological means of getting around what the government's doing and getting a message in. Secondly, all these soldiers, Russian soldiers that are being killed or maimed and aren't coming back, they have families.
Yeah.
The word is getting out. In today's modern world, you just can't keep that information forever. They all have relatives in some country, and in some European country, not just America. They have, these people clearly have Russian ties. Their brothers and sisters that are being killed in the Ukraine, and they have Russian relatives. I think, as I said, I believe inevitably Putin goes, either dead or alive.
Good point.
But the horrific part is how many Ukrainians are going to die in the meantime, and that is it's just horrible. Watching the news is just horrible.
We mentioned this last week on our podcast that Jerry's commentaries, which we relish here, are now going to be printed, put into print form on both the digital and the hard copy print of a Gannett paper called the Cincinnati Enquirer, a major daily paper. And we're going to start to send those to them regularly, and we're excited about that. Congratulations to Jerry. They are that good. Also, we took a sound bite of one of the commentaries Jerry did, the first one that he did on Ukraine, and it's wonderful. It's 3 episodes back. You ought to look it up. And Jerry talked about the JerrySpringer side of him and the Gerald Springer side of him. He's used both names through his life. And one is, the old ex-hippie war protester, and the other is the more seasoned pragmatist. And it's a kind of a back and forth between his two thoughts on this. It's really good. And our social media person, one of the people who works on our social media team, along with David Pruce, a gentleman named Marshall, took a soundbite of that, about 30 seconds, and put it on TikTok. And it really is resonating. It just pulled a chunk out of that, and it's up to 75,000 views and growing. And so we do send stuff out. We do use social media pretty heavily, and we're going to continue to do that. So good work, Jerry. Hey, I wanted to raise a question with you, Jerry, and then we're going to talk to Tiffany Williams. You and I talked, I don't know, might have been about a year ago. And we even had on our show a woman named Dixie, is her YouTube name. She is a extremely successful YouTuber and a backpacking influencer. She makes her living now. She's got a college degree, has done professional work. Now she makes YouTube videos, and they are about backpacking. She's what's called a Triple Crown hiker: Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest, Continental Divide Trail. And she came on because she has hiked the Appalachian Trail. And there is a mountain in Georgia named for Jerry Springer because of his TV celebrity, called Springer Mountain. Springer Mountain, Georgia is the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, and the northern terminus is Mount Katahdin. So Jerry, thought, Gene, you better have your SHIT together. You better do your due diligence, and you better make a call to somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about, and verify Springer Mountain is named for Jerry Springer. It's logical. Think about it, Jerry. I'll ask Tiffany Williams this question. She's just a regular person, not a staffer on our podcast. If I say there is a mountain called Trump who do you think of? You think of
Change.
Donald Trump. It's inescapable,
yeah.
whether you like him or don't like him. You say
Yeah.
Trump Mountain's named for Donald Trump. If I said to anybody in the state of Georgia, Springer Mountain, who do you think of? They're going to say, easy, Jerry Springer. So I called the librarian
You what?
of, I called several people. Oh, I was busy one morning on this project. Jerry, learn from me. This is called doing your due diligence.
Wait, slow. I'm trying to write this down. Due diligence. Okay.
I called down in the proximity of the Chattahoochee National Forest, and it's Gilmer County Public Library. And I called up and I got the librarian.
Oh, we go way back in Gilmer
Way
County.
back. And I said, so my buddy Jerry Springer, with whom I do a podcast, it's the TV guy. We are putting together an assault on Springer Mountain. And we got a whole team of people, right, Jerry? We're talking about, well, it's in the speculative stages.
Very speculative. I'm not climbing Springer Mountain.
Okay. So
I
we're
will
talking
hand
about
our family flag to you. You know, we have what do they
the
call it?
crest.
The
Springer
crest. I will hand the family crest to you, and you can climb to the top of the mountain. And when you get there, jam the flagpole into the top of the mountain, take a picture, and does that mean we have to pay for the upkeep of the mountain? Do
Yeah.
mountains have upkeeps?
Yeah. And you realize by that afternoon, some college kid would have that flag on the wall of his dorm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I called this librarian and I said, look, I did this all with like a real straight voice. I said, look, I produce Jerry Springer podcasts, and I just want to make sure I'm on solid ground here. No pun intended. But, Springer Mountain is named for Jerry Springer, right? And I went through the whole Trump thing, and I couldn't see him, but he's like, yeah, that sounds logical, but let's look it up. So he got out some books. I hate books. I hate it when they do that. They start facts. And he said, well, he says, first of all, I can tell you that in 1910, it was called, this is perfect, Penitentiary Mountain. That's what it was called, Penitentiary Mountain.
Oh.
And I said, but we're putting together this big team. We got climbers, we got Dixie from YouTube, we got a video crew, we got a doctor, we got mountain rescue people. And he said, listen, it's only 3,782 feet tall. It's not like Mount Everest, which is about 30,000. Yeah. So I said, oh, okay. And so I said, who was it named for? And he says, well, it doesn't have any mention of Jerry Springer. And was his show on in 1910? I said, well, maybe 1915. I don't know. So it was named for either. There is a controversy. I've added to the controversy because now I put in the TV.
Now it's really a controversy.
Now it's really
my name into it.
I said, would you please write this in your books in Gilmer County, Georgia?
It is not Jerry Springer.
Well, I said, put Jerry Springer in there too, because we don't know for sure. It was either named for the first Presbyterian minister in the area. I thought as a Jew, you would enjoy that. Or it was named for a well-known early settler, not some military guy, didn't have any racism issues. It's just either an early pioneer or a minister. Then I called, I said, okay, I'm going to shut up on this. It's named for Jerry Springer. Then I called the state of Georgia.
Yes.
To the governor's office.
Oh, yeah, I got a good reception there, I bet.
Oh, they love you. And I talked to a woman and I said, we are trying to figure out what this jurisdiction is because Jerry wants to maintain the mountain. You just said it. It's on the recording. You just said it, Jerry. Yeah. They're going to now charge you to maintain the mountain.
No.
He says, I don't think it's us it's not the state. I think it's federal. And I said, okay, well,
That's how
I'll
they
call
got out
over
of it.
there.
They didn't want to have to tell you that's absurd.
No.
They just said it's not we don't own the
It's not
mountain.
us.
It's federal. That's
Threw
not
their
our
hands up.
mountain.
They
Don't
threw their
blame
hands
us.
up and said, it's not our mountain.
No,
It's
we've
not
never
our
met Springer.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, here's the last thing I did. It's all true, by the way. I called the search and rescue headquarters for this area because my concern is because you have said, I don't know if I can climb 3,782 feet.
There's no way. At 78, you can't do it. I
And
can't
you
do it.
also said that you can't picture yourself, and I won't go into much detail here, so I'm just going to put it this way. You can't picture yourself going to the bathroom on the mountain, coming and going. You know,
No,
where
They don't have,
backpackers don't even worry about that. You just go back in the woods, but you're like, I'm not a bear. I don't know how to do that.
yeah.
So I wanted to see,
No.
here's what I wanted to see. Can our friend Lewis fly his helicopter up there if there needs to be a rescue? So I talked to this search and rescue guy. And I said, first of all, I told him, I said, it's JerrySpringer. I still believe the mountain was named for him.
Wait, Gene, you just gave me an idea. This is what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
We get Lewis his helicopter.
Uh-huh.
He takes us to the top of the mountain. We land at the top of the mountain. I put the crest in. We take the picture and then we fly away.
Okay.
I don't even have to climb it.
I hear you.
This
Let's
is perfect.
draw.
I've
let's-
got a mountain.
Let's flesh this picture out a little bit.
If you would just climb every mountain.
Just fly every mountain.
Every mountain. By every mountain.
Hey, let's flesh this out a little bit. That is the southern starting point of the Appalachian Trail. So on any spring or summer day we go there, there is a steady stream of people hiking what's called the approach trail to Springer Mountain, where that's the ridge, and then they head north.
They
So
really
you
hike.
think you can picture those people up there in this sublime and pastoral setting, having their moment, shedding a tear, starting their journey. And overhead is this freaking helicopter, like something out of the Vietnam War. Shoo, 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 shoo. And then it comes down and starts breaking tree limbs and lands in some clearing that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And JerrySpringer steps out.
Yeah. That damn Springer. No, but I would stand up there. This is what we can offer people.
That's what we can offer.
I would stand at the mountain with my arm like this, and they could stand next to me, and we take a picture. We give them a picture,
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
and they can do selfies with me.
All right, let me.
And that would
okay.
pay. That could pay for the gasoline, for the fuel for the helicopter getting up to the top of the mountain.
All right, Tiffany, hang on. We're coming.
Yeah,
We
poor
gotta-
Tiffany.
We have
Tiffany
to ask
is
him
this
this question.
wonderful talent, and she's
That-
putting up with
No,
this.
I know she's with us. But that begs this question. This is what could happen because they are not going to let you land. There's nothing up. There's no open space up there to land a helicopter. We have talked.
How do you
before-
know? Have you
I-
ever been to the top of Springer
No,
Mountain?
but Appalachian Trail's all forested. There is.
Have
no-
you seen the Promised Land?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know how we've talked about you being on Running Wild with Bear Grill?
Well, that's
That
not
guy?
going to happen.
All right. But would you do this?
Not going to happen.
Would you do this? Would you get in a harness and come out of Lewis's helicopter and be lowered down on a cable with him hovering above, unclip and do those selfies and then go back up on a cable? Would you be willing to do that? That's Bear Grill stuff.
That I would be in a harness.
In a harness, being lowered down on a cable from a helicopter.
Is it like bungee jumping where they drop you and then
No.
you bounce up just before you?
It's a
Very slow. It's a very slow.
low and slow.
Yeah. Can
All
I
right,
get
think-
back to you on that?
Yeah, okay, well, think it over. And by the way, the guy from the Georgia Search and Rescue, when I asked him this question, I said, Springer is loaded. And I went through the whole thing. He's got 7
Oh,
houses all over the world. You know, but I said, if they have to rescue his ass off that mountain, because he can't get up there or he gets stuck in the squat while he's going to the bathroom and they got to come rescue him. I said, who pays for that? And he thought for a while and he says, oh, that's on the taxpayers of Georgia. I said, so he wouldn't have to pay for his own rescue. They said, no.
Hey, fellas, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it says here on Wikipedia, the mountain has been called Springer since at least 1910, named after Jerry Springer.
Oh, there you go.
Where?
There you go.
Wikipedia. Wait a minute. Where
it doesn't say. I'm looking at it now. Where it doesn't.
The
say
mountain
Jerry.
has been called Springer since at least 1910,
It
named
does say-
after Jerry
It
Springer.
says it.
It says it. What?
Fantastic. The mountain has been called Springer since at least 1910, named after Jerry Springer.
I was barely a kid then.
There you go.
Wait
Y'all
a
know
second.
how Wikipedia works?
This is.
Yeah, we do.
If it's on Wikipedia, it has to be true.
Hey, Tiffany, that's why I love Wikipedia. I do know how it
That
works.
is
I love-
unbelievable. I can't.
Now your crest has to go up there.
Oh, now it's official.
Hey, do you have a Springer? Do you have a Springer crest? Is there one? There will be.
Closest thing we have to crest is toothpaste.
We'll put Marshall.
We have a Springer toothpaste. That's crest.
Yeah, we're gonna get that worked out. Hey, and by the way, congratulations to Jerry and David Pruce. I guess all of us. We're starting our 8th year. This is pretty cool. Just finished 7 years.
Yeah.
So,
This is the
We love
7th
it.
anniversary.
okay,
Yeah.
Tiffany Williams, and we had Tiffany on last week. Hello,
Tiffany M. Williams for mouse.
Tiffany
Her
Mouse, but no.
No,
It's
no.
for
her
music.
Shell.
The
for
industry
music. For music. Tiffany, born and raised in southeastern Kentucky, a true daughter of a coal miner, and we chatted about that last time. Those are great roots. And Tiffany, you talked to us about, and this spoke to me. You are, I'm going to throw some compliments to you. You're a storyteller, and you've been a fiction writer, and you're a songwriter. And it's all about storytelling, isn't it? And
Yeah.
you do.
I'm a dialect coach too. I don't think I told you that.
You're what?
A dialect coach.
A dialect.
Oh,
For
really?
exclusively for Appalachian English. Yeah, there was a film I worked on in 2018 that went to Sundance in 2020. It was the last cool thing I did before the pandemic happened. I got to go to Sundance and see the film, but it's called The
Really?
Evening Hour, and it's a terrific film, and it was shot in Harlan County. And they had a fancy dialect coach from Juilliard, but then they got me
Yeah, who
on,
could really,
on
yeah.
set. So
Well,
Well,
you
wait a second.
hide your New York accent perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm that good.
You're that good. That's great.
Tell us, if you would, a little bit about that. This Juilliard coach, because you're from Appalachia, so I get it. I can picture it. They used you to help the people in the movie know how to sound authentic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
not
was
make-
on set with him, so in between takes, if I needed to give him notes or like, in between set changes or whatever, if there was some lines they wanted to go over, and I had to leave a little early, so I did record some lines for him, and then in post-production, before they did ADR, I went and gave some notes too.
And we
very
established
smart.
in the last episode that you went to college, you then got a master's degree, and you then taught English for a number of years, and then you studied more linguistics, and so ergo a linguistics coach. This person from New York, was he or she an authentic Appalachian person as you are? We know you are.
No, her name was Kate. I can't remember her last name. I
Yeah.
emailed with her a couple of times, but she's like what you think of when you think of a dialect coach. Like she
I
can
got
teach
you.
you across the board, different. Like that's her profession, and she worked with them a lot too, and she's incredible. But yeah, I was kind of like the on the ground hillbilly dialect.
Yeah,
coach.
there you go, man. That's fantastic.
That's a great story.
And we talked last time about how your music, sometimes we'll have people on, right, Jerry, where their moms or dads were singers and expose them to all these different kinds of music. And you said, well, that wasn't really your story. Your grandmother was a singer, and you were pulled into the choir, and even you said you got a scholarship, partial scholarship or full ride, whatever it was.
They had never heard me sing a note.
Really?
Oh, no. Man. The band director from the college came to my band room and said, we would like to give you a scholarship for euphonium. We also would like to give you a scholarship for a choir. Are you interested? And so I said, yeah, sure.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Why not?
Hey, by the way, what were your musical influences when you were young? Because your sound now is folky / Americana. What did you listen to as a kid?
I listened to everything. I was a 90s kid with which I think it started before the 90s, but the Columbia House record scam that you get like 12 CDs for a penny, but then your parents are obligated to buy a CD for $30. Right. For one every month until
for the rest of your life.
The end of time. So,
right.
And that was $30 in 90s money. So, but yeah, I remember like I just went crazy. I got I would get classic country, contemporary country, Oasis, Sheryl Crow, and Tupac. So I and rap was. I mean, I don't know that it comes out in my music at all, but I definitely as a kid of the 90s and early 2000s, I was definitely listening to rap too. When I was in middle school, I had the All Eyes on Me double CD, and I would have my little Walkman and go to sleep with Tupac.
That's great. That's great.
That's a little juxtaposition with all the sad folk music that I make.
Yeah. And do you perform solo? Is that how you roll, or do you work with a band ever? Or tell us about that.
Sometimes, very rarely, I'll have a band. I often have people, just one or two people accompany me, somebody on fiddle or somebody on, guitar or pedal steel. But most of the time it's just me solo. So,
And you're in Nashville now, you mentioned last time. And are you performing now that the pandemic is much more under control than it had been? Are you out performing yet?
Yeah, I have been. I recently did my first gig of the year in Lexington, Kentucky at the Burl. It's one of my favorite venues to play.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in the process of booking a lot of stuff, primarily after August, because that's when my first full-length album is coming out.
Okay, so you have an album first, full album. What's the name of that?
All Those Days of Drinking Dust.
Nice. All Those Days of
Drinking Dust.
Drinking Dust.
Dust. Because the title song, I originally called it "I Am a Coal Miner's Daughter," and then I was persuaded that maybe don't call it that. So now it's called "All Those Days of Drinking Dust," but it's about growing up in coal country and having a dad as a coal miner. So yeah.
God, that's a great title. That's a great coal mining title.
Thank you.
And a title of an album influenced by where you grew up.
Man, is it a strong coal mine? A union town?
There's not a lot of coal mining where I'm from anymore. My dad went across the state line to mine in Virginia the last few years that he was mining. Well, for a large part of his career, but I don't think there's many deep mines in my part of Kentucky anymore. It's mostly strip mines and stuff. Yeah. So I vaguely remember when I was younger there was a lot of talk about union versus non-union, but that's really all I know.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one more question? We're going to hear a song from Tiffany here momentarily. I know about strip mining. I'm from Northern Kentucky. I didn't come from a coal mining background. If you want to know the truth, and this is maybe ridiculous, but what I know about coal mining has a lot to do with folk music. That sounds stupid, but I mean,
that's not stupid.
I don't know. Maybe not.
That's how the story is told.
Many songs.
That says a lot about folk music.
It says a lot about folk music. I agree, Tiffany. And then, and I did some trips. I took some inner city kids from Cincinnati. You'll appreciate this maybe as a fellow educator. And I took a team of kids from a high school that actually I had helped organize, that was a journalism high school. We were teaching kids how to do print and broadcast journalism to give them a leg up on journalism schools around the country, really good schools. And we took a team down to Appalachia to the coal fields, and we did a documentary about what we saw. And one of the places that we went, they were strip mining. And we went to the strip mine. Easy to do, because it's not like a deep mine where you can't, because of liability, get down in it. We were actually at a reclaimed strip mine. Yeah. And the mouthpiece for the company who gave us the tour put this pretty vanilla topping on this description of, oh, look at these green fields, and we're picturing the Holiday Inn up here, and I'm looking at a flat top mountain that looked dumb as hell. It just didn't look natural. And my kids, who knew nothing of mining, these are urban African-American kids, didn't have any Appalachian roots, family members that work in the mines. And what is your take? I guess I just tip my hand. I don't feel real good about strip mining, but maybe I'm all wrong. Is it part of the economic necessity of Kentucky? Tell me, what do you think of strip mining?
I think, to get to those top seams, they can't get them through the deep mines. So I think that's part of the reason that they want to do the strip mining. It's also mechanized. So, I mean, as far as is it good for the economy? There are fewer jobs with strip mining than deep mining or mountaintop removal, So I don't know. I really don't know I don't know the current state of what's going on where I'm from, but I know that, it can be really tough on the environment. I don't know, as far as, I used to actually teach mountaintop removal, and there's a lot of literature. There's Lost Mountain by Eric Rees is a good book. Yeah, and then there's Something's Rising by Salas House and Jason Howard edited it, and it's a lot of personal accounts about people who are in on the fight and everything, and there's music about it. I mean, there's a lot of activism, on that topic, and I don't know. What was your question?
Oh, no, you've answered it. No, that's a good, it's a good nuanced answer. It's complicated. It has competing interests. The folks,
and then you have, I guess you have things that are, I don't fully know as far as the reclamation goes. You may have structures that are built on it, but I think also there's some issues with the structures have it's not totally the integrity of the ground is not such that it really supports it, or I think it's just, as with anything, it's very complicated, and it's heartbreaking, and I don't know. I think there's anybody who's interested in it, there's a lot of, if you can find a starting point and find that thread, there's a lot of things you can look into. But yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. And Jerry, remember in what year was it? 82, when you ran for Congress, it
was governor.
Ran for governor, pardon me.
Yeah.
And you were endorsed by whom?
By the coal miners union. And we went into a mine, and I'd read about it and heard about it just as Gene had through various means. But when you go in, it's like you start saying to yourself, and I was only going to be there for a couple of hours, but God, imagine coming in here every day.
And eating your lunch down there.
Yeah. And just, cases of obviously the health issues, but beyond that, also the mental health issues, just the depression.
And not you. Well, you're not, if you're working day shift, you're not seeing the sun really.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of respect for those people, but what's kind of interesting is that hardly anybody raises their kid anymore to be a coal miner. In other words, we can argue about, are we going to be supporting coal mining? That's not the future. And that's not where the jobs are.
And the trouble is, it's been a mono economy for so long, and that's been, the coal mining jobs pay well, and a lot of people where I'm from are really tied to the land, and so you want to stay there and you want to support your family, and so coal mining is a great way to do that, or it has been in the past anyway. And so I think the long-term worry has been, what replaces mining when it's gone, because we've been all about coal for so long.
Exactly. No quick
Tiffany,
answer at all.
You're a cool woman. I'm really glad we had you on,
Yep.
not just for your music, but this is good stuff.
I don't feel bad now about all the money we've been paying you.
Oh yeah, well no, you shouldn't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
And Tiffany, and we're going to hear a song that Tiffany wrote and performs called "Ticket to the Moon." But one closing question: when we do our assault on Springer Mountain, as a linguist, would you accompany us on our team to make sure?
I would be offended if you did not invite me.
Okay.
Oh man! So if Jerry cusses, can you make sure he sounds authentic? And I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what are you putting down here? I have no idea.
They're slurping all over this mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Tiffany, tell us about the song you're about to do, "Ticket to the Moon." What
Well, it's a song that I did not fingerpick before the pandemic, and lots of time on my hands, so I learned to fingerpick, and this was the first song that I started that way. And I started it during COVID, and I brought it to a couple of friends of mine in Nashville, Ben and Cassie Wilson. They're an Americana duo by the name of My One and Only, and great songwriters. And so we wrote this one together, and then I cut it on my most recent EP.
All right. "Ticket to the Moon" by Tiffany Williams. All right, Tiffany, that's another great song. We're really excited about Tiffany Williams' music, and where can people find more of it, Tiffany?
On the internet, pretty much everywhere.
And you have a website.
All the places you listen, YouTube, I've got some videos and stuff. My website is Tiffany, Tiffany, M as in Michelle, Williams at Williams. Next, I'll tell you my social security.
There you go.
We gotta keep some secrets.
And Jerry, Jerry, just out of curiosity, what's your password on your American Express card? Just say it real fast and then we'll move on. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Anyway, hey, so Tiffany, you say that you're going to be out and about. You love to perform in this place in Lexington. What's that club again where you?
Oh, I recently had a gig at the Burl in Lexington. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the Distillery District. It's kind of like a growing little area of Lexington. And I don't have a gig scheduled there anytime soon, but I recently had a gig there. Yeah.
All right. And so we urge people, check out the music of Tiffany Williams. As we were saying, she's really a neat person and plenty deep about a lot of stuff. And I think all of that is reflected in the storytelling of her songs. So thank you for being with us. Taking us out on our usual Down by the Riverside is our music coordinator, himself a singer-songwriter, Casey Campbell, and our own JerrySpringer. See you all next time.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Yeah.
That's perfect. I coached you just right.
All right, see you guys. Good work. Thank you so much.
Great job. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank
Great
you
job,
all so
everyone.
much.
All right, see you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.